Good. Well, thank you so much, Scott, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here today to share all of your strategies and tips for success for working your database. I think for everyone, we all think of you, you're on the phone, you're doing your birthday calls, you're always consistently working your database and making sure to go that extra mile for your clients to generate referrals and retention. So we're really excited to hear kind of how you've gotten to where you are. So I guess to kick it off, we would love to hear a little bit about your daily routine for work. What does that look like?
Sure. So my daily routine, the purpose or the intention of my daily routine is to get in the proper mindset to deal with everything that comes at you every day, good, bad, ugly, problems, wins, losses, everything. So I'm up about 6:30 or so. I'm doing some stretching. I'm drinking my apple cider vinegar because I hear it's healthy for you. Um, I'm journaling a little bit on my thoughts from the day before, and also just telling myself what I need to do today. Like, oh, I need to remind myself to make some database calls, or I need to call, reach out to some of my realtors or something, whatever. It might be some of my kids or whatever. Just it helps to kind of be more intentional about what you're doing. I'm in the shower, I'm eating, I'm in the office by between 8 and 8:30. I've got a team meeting every day with my team, whether we have nothing going on or we've got tons of things going on. And we're talking about, again, how are we doing with what are our weekly goals? Like today was a question, what superhero are you channeling today? You can ask all yourself that, see how you'd answer yourself. I said I'd be Superman today because I need to accomplish things in leaps and bounds. So that's, go over the pipeline real quickly, and then 9 o'clock, I'm getting into my total expert database, and I'm saying, okay, who has a birthday today? And then I'll look down the list, and actually the total expert database gives you the birthdays for the week. And I have actually 55 people this week have a birthday. So my intention and goal is to touch every one of them. Now, the database includes some people that were a prospect and they didn't actually complete a loan or do a loan. So depending how well I know that person or don't know them at all, if I don't know them at all, then I would just ignore it and I'll spend more time on the people that I do know. This morning, I sent a couple texts with my Scott Morse bit emoji that, is a likeness of me to just be a little bit different than the other texts they're getting from other friends. And also will call some people too. I called a client. I know he was in Italy a month ago, and I talked to him about 3 months ago. He's looking at, buying his next house. And so I called him, wish him happy birthday. We had like a great 8-minute conversation. One about Italy, 2 about his birthday, and 3 about, you know what? I see the market softening a little bit. He's a data guy and he's a younger guy. So he's only 20 years old. So he's looking at data a lot. And said, I'm gonna get with you in about a month, or either in December or January. We can strategize how to get the next, how to buy my next house. He has a condo now, which he got a couple of years ago. And I was doing, okay, how can I move up and get something of value that will feel good to him and help him continue to start building wealth in real estate. So those birthday calls, what they do for me personally is they're happy, they're positive. I'm not really asking anybody for business. I'm just creating a good mindset for myself. It makes me feel good. And if I actually talk to someone, connect with somebody, which they rarely pick up, then it makes me feel better. And I'll ask them, hey, how you doing? How's your birthday? I'll let them bring up any business that they want to talk about. But on the birthday call, the purpose is not to get into a business conversation. And for, again, the purpose for me to do it is, 1, to connect with my clients, make sure they remember who I am. And 2, it makes me feel good. I start the day out good. And then when I get that call that appraisal didn't come, I get the appraisal didn't come. Okay, now I got to tackle something that's not as pleasant. And I take the bull by the horns. I'm a little more like, okay, I got to do this right now and solve the problem, move it aside and get it done. A lot of times while I'm making those birthday calls, I'll be in the database and I'll click on that person. I talked to a guy yesterday. He works at Qualcomm. This is actually not a birthday call, but an annual review call, which we'll get into. And I made some notes. about our conversation, so that next time I speak with him, I can ask him, hey, did you get another raise yet, or another promotion yet? Because again, he's already, since we did it alone for him last year, he's making $45,000 more per year. And his child was 6 months old, is now 1.5 years old. And he bought his first place, a condo. So who's that? That's a move up. That's a move up buyer for me in the next year or two.
Wow, it sounds like everything you're doing is really intentional and you're thinking it out. So I'm guessing it took time to get there. I'll let Victoria ask you our next question.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, you kind of already touched base on some of the next questions we were going to ask, just about like your best practices for reaching out to your database. You mentioned your birthday check-ins, as well as you kind of started to talk about your annual reviews and your check-ins in regards to those. So what are your best practices for your annual reviews and your check-ins? I'm assuming those automatically show up in Total Expert for those.
I have them triggered, so they will automatically send an email to the client on the anniversary of their closing, whether it's a refinance or a purchase. And then I'll many times follow up with a phone call to try to get a annual review scheduled, or many times they'll email me back from the email that the system sent to them, saying, "Hey, I'm good, I'm great, da 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 da," and then I'll decide whether I want to call and reach out to them and make a connection or not, depending on what I recollect about them, or was it a client that already gave me some referrals? Was it a client that gave me no referrals? Was it a client that works they're self-employed and they have employees that I may be able to help? I mean, I'm always trying to think of what are ways that I can expand my touch and share the education platform that I run to help educate more people to build wealth through real estate. One other thing I want to say is, when I do the birthday calls, I will also text the realtor who sent me that client, who was involved in that transaction, say, "Hey, just in case you want to reach out, it's Phil's birthday today."
I love that, because they're probably not remembering.
No, they're not. Very few of them are remembering. Very few of them.
When
Yeah.
I was gonna say, when you're double checking or when you're recalling, like if they're self-employed and they may have employees, or you remembered that their child is a year and a half or a year older, are those details that you're pulling up in Total Expert, or are you just recalling from your interactions with them in the past?
A little bit of both. So a lot of times I can recall it because I can remember, because sometimes I have memory like an elephant, other times it's like an ant's. And so you can, into the Total Expert, it tells you where they work, it's sort of thing. So you can quickly tell, if they work Qualcomm, well, they're not self-employed, but they have lots of engineers around them. And then I tailor the conversation, say, "Hey, I'd love to help your other engineering buddies, understand the opportunity that you've created to build wealth for yourself. By the way, you've built X amount of wealth for yourself in the past year. Do you have any other buddies who are right now looking at buying a house?" And I'll ask. So yesterday I had an annual review call, a couple of them actually, guy with an Apple guy and a Qualcomm guy. And the annual review call is something that's, I think, very valuable. It's automated through the system. It sends it out. Doesn't mean you're going to get an appointment. So you may have to do some extra work to create that appointment and get the appointment with the person. I promise you, it's always well worth it, because again, you're having a conversation about something positive. They bought a new house. In one case, they bought a new house. They bought it for $580. I use the HomeBot to make sure they're getting that. Say, "Hey, I've been sending you an email every month, which is I'm your real estate wealth tracker, and now you're part of my mortgage family. So I'm here to take care of your mortgage and help you with the debt side of your balance sheet and manage your debt to the most efficient way possible." And this particular client, he bought a year ago, and he could see that things are not as busy as they were. But I said, "Look, your HomeBot is saying," and I looked at some recent comps showing that you bought for $580, and now your value is in the $630 neighborhood. So you've made 50 grand over a year. It's awesome. And your you've got a super low mortgage rate, so you don't need to do anything on that right now. Do you have any debts that you need to take care of? No, I'm debt free. I've got a promotion. I've been making more money. So the conversation and it starts to tell me, okay, he's in a good place. He's got a raise again of 40 grand a year. His wife just got her green card, so now she could start working as well if she wanted to. Their daughter, he's just loving this new house and enjoying it, loves the area. I asked him, what are you doing with the extra money you're making? You're making, almost $3,000 more per month than you were, which is what your payment is. So now you've got ability to save a lot more. He's like, oh, I'm buying some stocks and I'm putting it aside. And, my plan is to, put that money in stocks for the next 5 years and have a lump sum and maybe pay my mortgage down on a big chunk. So we talked a little bit about that, saying, well, before you do that, let's run the numbers and make sure that makes sense, so on and so forth. Or maybe use that to buy a new house and rent this one out and have someone pay. I already have a client in your neighborhood who's going to rent their place for $3,200. So you can already leave your place and make money. He said his insurance is good. He said his CPA is happy with his CPA at the moment, and so on and so forth. So that was the conversation that we had. It was about 20 to 25 minutes. And he said, Scott, I'll watch out if anybody's buying a house. I'll make sure that they call you or that you talk to them. Same thing with the Apple guy, same conversation, but he said, I do need a new CPA. My CPA is kind of old. I can't get a hold of that easily, so on and so forth. So I gave him the name and number of a CPA that I refer. I have a couple of them that I refer out. And then I'll call that CPA. Hey, is this saying a client? You got any clients for me? So I'm trying to create this web and this momentum that continues to make me feel good, build my database, and help and have more. The idea is to have more conversations with people that are either in the market to finance, buy a new house, buy a rental property, buy an Airbnb. I haven't done a lot of those. Or they need to borrow some money to do something to help their kids or refinance their debt. Maybe their kids are going to college. You could do the house hack and they buy a house and have their son or daughter live there. They can get 2 bedrooms and have three or four other roommates that give them, $2,500 a month between the 4 of them or 3 of them. And now all of a sudden the mortgage is paid for. It costs him way less to live there, and he's building wealth than living in a dorm or renting from a landlord. So the idea is how do we keep probing to talk to as many people as possible to have these kind of conversations where we can educate people on building as much wealth as quickly as possible through real estate, and then understanding there are other investments too to help them, be in good places. I've referred a wealth manager client of mine, probably 30, 40 people in the last 5 years that he's taken on and helped them manage their wealth and life insurance and, protect their family, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. There's so many awesome tips in there. I love that you're always finding those opportunities in every interaction. Yeah. I did want to give 1 minute for Tony to ask a question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Tony, if you're still on here.
I typed it out in there. What's up, Scott? What's up, everyone?
I can't see you.
We all have sales boomerangs, right? We all get those notifications, and I just wanted to ask you, what's your conversation like with those folks when you get one of those that are credit pulls? Obviously, we've all done it. We all call that client and say, hey, just how things are going, whatever. But how do you do that?
So I've had a lot of those in the last 60 days or so, and I'm calling them straight away. Hey, I just checking in with you, see if there's anything I can help you with. If it gets deep into it, say, yeah, my system told me to give you a call, and it looked like you might be checking into getting some a loan or something like that. What are you looking to do? And I already know they have like a 3% rate or whatever it might be. In all those instances, it was someone getting a line of credit. In many instances, I had talked to them already and told them to go to US Bank, or I told them to go to PNC, or I sent them off to somewhere else to get a line of credit. I need to form a script and a talk track for the equity alerts also, because there's lots of people have lots of equity, you know. The tricky part of this market is, again, you've got people with such low rates. How do we get them into play? Again, it's having a conversation on what are you looking to do? You know, you're in Fresno, right? Yeah. So you're in a really completely different market than we are here in San Diego. And I think there's equal amount of more opportunity there than might be here, because things are so expensive here. It's it's challenging to buy a rental property and have a cash flow. I'm not sure how it is there, but seems like it might be closer. I don't know, but again, it's reaching out those people and just digging a little deeper. Hey, I'm Tony. I helped to get your loan. If they don't remember, I just expect everybody remembers who I am. I just assume they know who I am right away. And just get into a conversation, ask them some questions. Hey, what are you looking to do? What were you thinking about? Or anything, I can help you with on the finance side, so on and so forth. Hopefully that's helpful.
Scott, I have a quick question, because I have those annual loan review emails going out too. And sometimes I'll get people who are like, yes, great, I can't wait to schedule this with you. And then others will say, oh, given where rates are today, I don't think we need to have a conversation. Thanks for checking in. Take care. So what would be your response to that objection?
Yeah, no, I will call them and say, hey, I really just to catch up with you live for a few minutes. It's just the annual review is significantly more than just what your rate is. It's give me a call when you have a chance, or let me know when a good time to chat with you is. You can't give them too much information on the message if they don't pick up the call, because then it's, oh, I don't need to know that. You want to just leave it like, hey, oh, maybe this has something important. I got something really important to share with you. You have to make it like somewhat inviting and like, oh, what am I missing out on? Kind of a message, so that they will call you and say, hey, you know what? You're right. Your rate is fantastic, but you being part of my mortgage family, I'm looking out for more than just your rate. I'm just checking in to make sure how your kid's doing. How's the house? Are you enjoying it? Oh, no, I need to paint. Well, I got a painter I can help you with. Or, I had a plumbing problem, or and then you could share some of your ideas with how you're going to, hey, I have some clients who are building ADUs. I know you have a big lot in your backyard. Is that something, are those clients are looking to create some more cash flow, build some more wealth for themselves? Is that something you might be interested in? How's your, how is your wealth manager performing for you in this market? Go dead silent. Let them answer the question.
That's a good one.
How's your CPA performing for you lately? I find many CPAs get older, they get less on top of the details, and they're not cutting edge in terms of helping people save money on taxes or whatever there may be. There's a strategy right now going around called a cost segregation strategy. If you buy an Airbnb, you can like depreciate the whole thing, or like half of the property in 1 year. So there's like a bunch of clients trying to buy rental properties right now before the end of the year, so they can, offset all their income. I have a couple of young guys who making went from making 100,000 to 500,000 this year. Like, oh, I gotta invest that money. I don't want to pay all those taxes. It's like if they can buy a property like that and depreciate it all, they can save like 50 to 75K in taxes on something, on a scenario like that. So CPAs are, again, they're as they get older, they get less motivated to be on the cutting edge.
Yeah, no, I'm looking for some real or CPA partners. I don't have any tax preparers that I would feel confident referring.
Yeah. So if you get a hold of the person live, then you can go through that. If you have to get them to call you back or email them back, say, no, I got some really valuable stuff to share with you. Let me know a time when I can connect you for 15 minutes or 10 to 15 minutes. Or you could say 5 to 10 minutes and it'll take however long it takes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Really awesome tips. Scott, we just have one more that we want to ask you before we open it up for everyone else to have time for their questions. So what advice would you give a loan officer who's listening to all this and is just completely overwhelmed and has no idea where to start?
Start with step number one, right? Step number one is be intentional, have purpose, time block your day, create a goal. You know, John Wooden said, if you don't have a plan, plan to fail. John Wooden said many, many wonderful things for you old guy. You younger people don't know who John Wooden is, but us old guys know who John Wooden is. He's like the greatest college basketball coach that ever lived. Won like 10 NCAA championships. And he wasn't about winning. He was about the process. It wasn't about the results. He was about the work you put in and the process you create to put in the work so that the results will follow where they may, you know? So if someone's overwhelmed, you gotta back down and say, okay, what can I manage in the next hour? What can I manage in the next day? What can I manage in the next week? What can I manage in the next month? And break it down. And then the whole key to be successful really is there are no shortcuts. I mean, it takes work. If you want to be successful in this market, especially this market, you have to get on the phone and you got to add value. You got to talk to people. You got to meet with people. You got to see them face to face. The hardest part about doing all that is being disciplined enough to do it and being consistent. You know, I mean, I work consistently hard. Like I said before, 4.5 days a week. You know, so I go golf on Friday at 12 to 5, and then if I have calls during that time, I'll text them, hey, I'm going to call you back. Here, I'm going to call you back at the end of the day. I'll call you back before 6 o'clock. And one thing I always do is if I say something, I do it 100% of the time. You know, and if I said to that person, I'll text you in a text, I'll call you back by 6 and it's 5:59. I haven't called you yet. I can't. I'll say, hey, sorry, I'm a little bit delayed. I'll call you in the next 20 minutes. And then I'm going to call in the next 20 minutes. So it's, if you live by that rule, and then you can be somewhat intentional and purposeful and disciplined about what you're doing every day, eventually you'll be successful or you're not in the right business.
I love it. I hope everyone's been taking notes, but if not, we are recording. So hopefully you can go back, all of you, and write down a couple of things because there's so many actionable tips in there. I'll pass it back to Victoria.
Yeah, there's been a lot of good takeaways today. Does anybody have any questions they want to type into the chat or unmute that we haven't already gone through? We just have a couple of minutes left, but want to make sure we open it up in case there's anything you guys want to ask as a group. I do know that we actually recently just got asked about like the automated stuff inside Total Expert. A loan officer did ask to maybe pause some of the stuff that was happening. So that is something that you can request if you want to pause like the annual review emails that are going out. So someone did request that. So you can't, there is like some customization that can happen in there as well if you want to customize it a little bit more. It's something to think about when you're thinking about what your client experience looks like.
Alon, it's called cost segregation, I believe. I don't know the strategy all that well. I've just heard it and heard it from a client of mine. I heard it from someone else, like actually Brian Decker put it on his social media also, I think, but he didn't get into details about it.
I got one thing to say. When I first started working for Scott, he made me read a book that changed my life. I recommended that book to my realtor partner, changed his life, and he now requires his whole team to read it. So it goes back to a lot of what Scott talks about. It's called Chop Wood, Carry Water. So I'd recommend every single person read that book at least once a year. And I think Scott still reads it once a year. So
processing team read that as well. I think I just saw Diana unmute herself and she
shared
that.
You know, I have to say, working at corporate, Scott doesn't even know this, but he is so consistent with his day. Like I pull into work, there's Scott's car. You know, either Scott or I usually are the last to leave. Like Yep, there goes Scott. There goes Scott. He is so consistent with his day, and every time he talks to a group, he mentions that. And I'm just here to say, hands down, when I don't see his car, I'm like, oh, he must be at an appointment with a client. That's my first thought when I see Scott. So he is an inspiration, definitely, for me personally as well. And we did enjoy the book.
For Scott too, sorry. I just wanted to throw it out there. I'm not one of, well, I have my license, but I'm one of the young bloods that doesn't know exactly who John Wood is, but loves hearing you speak every time you speak, Scott, and I always have things that I can take away with it. Just curious, in general, how you get that consistent, as Diane mentioned. You're so consistent daily, like how do you get to that point? Where did you start, or any advice on getting that? Having 2 kids under 2, it seems like that is not a possibility in my life. Just curious.
Yeah, certainly I had 3 kids under 4, but I didn't have to take care of them. So yes, I would say for you, that's a huge challenge, right? So, I mean, what I would tell you is, you got a time block, when you can do things. And, if you can't time block away from, someone else looking after your kids, then it's going to be super difficult, because it needs your full attention. It needs your 100% effort. It for whatever time it is, maybe it's from, 8:30 to 12:30, or, and maybe your husband takes them in the morning and he works in the afternoon, or you have a nanny, or, once they get in school, it'll get easier, because then you'll have that time frame. The tricky part is to be able to respond on the fly, right? Because you can't answer the phone when you've got 2 toddlers you're taking care of. I mean, but you can maybe do a quick text, and it's not fair to them for you to be not giving them your full attention as well when you're with them. So yeah, you got a time block and pick your time of day that you can be most productive, and you got to prepare for it, like late at night before you go to sleep, or early in the morning before they wake up, so that when your time block comes, you hit the ground running, right? You got to be able to go, like, minute 1, I'm going to be efficient with what I'm trying to do and get my work done in the time block that I have. Start with that, and then then you have to adapt to how you can be most efficient with it. It's really difficult because you're a mom, so you've got a lot of emotions, you've got a lot of things to deal with. But make a plan that you feel like you can execute. Have some big goals. If you don't make the big goals, that's not a bad thing. Most people that tell you to make big goals, they make big goals because they don't think you can achieve it. But making a big goal is going to be far better than making no goals, because you'll get halfway to the goal or 3/4 of the way to the goal. And if you didn't make any goals, you might get 10% of the way to the goal. So don't feel bad if you don't reach the goal, but feel bad if you didn't execute your plan and do the process, and the results will come. And if your results aren't coming, then you got to adapt how you approach people, what you say, when you fine tune your kind of your people intuition and your people reading skills, and then your sales skills. And then your age group is, I talked to a guy yesterday, he's a coach that coaches me in a group, and he's like, I get like half of my business now all of a sudden is coming from social media, and I don't talk to the people for a while. Like, I'm DMing them and I'm DMing them and kind of getting them, reeling them into the point where then I can have a conversation with them, and then we can really talk about, okay, what do you want to do? What are you trying to do? But it's not like they're instantly calling, oh, Justin, I want to buy a house. He's having to nurture them and work them a little bit. And that's something you can do. But again, the DMs you got to be quick, right? If 2 hours goes by, then you missed it, especially your age group. It's an instant gratification world. One tip you can do too is that Chop Wood Carry Water book. It's really simple, really easy to read. I actually had this, my daughter told me she had to read it for a class. So I mail, I brought it to her when I saw her a couple weeks ago. And she told me, I said, that book was really good. I said, yeah, you could read it the rest of your life every month and it'll hit you in a different way because it is relevant to what you're doing at the time. It doesn't get old. Like it's always, it's a crazy book. I read it 3 times, maybe 4 times. And I always get something different out of it every time because I'm in a different place in time or a different market or dealing with different people or different, a different strategy I'm trying to deploy and that sort of thing. But it's a book that you guys, all of you could buy for your 10 best realtors or your 15 best realtors and just send it to them with a note. Hey, hope you had a great year. Obviously the market is what it is. Looking forward to having a fantastic year in 2023. I promise you read this book, it'll help you. Just a way to reach out and add value. And they're not expensive books at all. So money well invested. I'm going to do that.
Love that idea.
That's so awesome. Scott, do you have a second for Carl's or otherwise? Yeah. Awesome. We know if you saw it.
How deep do I go with clients on wealth management? It depends on where they're at. Like I'll go as deep. I mean, I love that stuff, and I grew up buying and selling stocks, and I have money in stocks and bonds and all that sort of stuff. So I have a lot of knowledge about it. So I'm comfortable speaking about it. Where I go usually is the easy conversation is like yesterday with this guy, Qualcomm guy said, look, I don't know if that would, when the time comes, you have accumulated a bunch of money, we should look at that because you have a 2.875 interest rate. I promise you that your stock portfolio if you're buying the right things, it's going to yield you, it's going to grow your wealth a lot more than 2.875 interest rate. So taking a lump sum of $100,000 or $200,000 to pay your mortgage down may not make sense to, depending on the time and how you're feeling and what your goals are, when you accumulate this money. But when you do the math and the numbers never lie. People lie all the time. But when you do the math, and I can help you do that when the time comes, I'll put it in a mortgage coach and I'll show them, okay, if you, invest $100,000 and you get 5%, what does that look like? Versus the 2.875 you're paying on your mortgage. And I did a quick calculation for him. I said, look, now you're making $150K a year. So now you're in the 22% tax bracket, and your 2.875 is really probably close to a 2.25% rate after your tax benefit. So, if you're going to build your wealth fastest, it's not going to be by paying your mortgage off. And then if they're not happy with their wealth manager, they don't have a wealth manager, and they have a fair bit of money, then I'll tell them, hey, you should talk to somebody about wealth management and help them grow your portfolio. And if you could talk, I've got a couple of people that are wonderfully nice. They're not going to high pressure you. You interview them and you like them, you can hire them. If you don't like them, you don't feel like it's going to help you, then don't hire them. And that's how I kind of get them to make an investment. But yeah, you have nothing to lose. I promise you, by talking to these people, you're going to learn a few things along the way that you should be thinking about, that you're not doing, that you probably should be doing. And then you can, if you don't hire them, you can take those ideas and do them yourself. You got nothing to lose by talking to somebody, and just understanding it and getting more educated about it. Because you're an engineer, and these people, just like you do engineering 8 hours a day, these people do wealth management 8 hours a day. They're going to know a lot about it. That's some things you might not know. Does that answer your question, Carl?
Carl had to leave, Jasmine said, but she's been taking notes, and we're going to make sure he
Yeah.
gets sorted.
Hey, Scott, can you recommend some people that we can refer to our clients in terms of wealth management? We really in Las Vegas, I don't know anybody that I would recommend, to be honest with you. But if you have anybody, and we can reach out to you separately, but if you have anybody that you can recommend, I would appreciate that.
I've got a couple, I've got 3 people, depending on the range. But yeah,
yes,
we can take that offline. We can call me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Dustin, what stocks are you buying?
I don't know anymore. It's tough out there. I don't even check anymore.
Yeah. I don't check anymore either, but I'm still, I bought this stock EXP Realty a long time ago. You guys all know who EXP is. I'm still bullish on it. They don't have any debt. Yesterday, the guy who's been managing the Cole Banker office for 11 years, a guy named Jeff Nunn, who's well-liked, well-known. He this week left Cole Banker to go to EXP. And it just tells you something. You know, who knows?
Scott told me to buy that stock at $7 when I was working with him, and I didn't listen and went up to 50. So for what it's worth.
So it's tough market to buy stocks in at the moment, you know. So that's why I do mortgages.
I thought all the millionaires get rich during the down period.
They do, but you got to buy them. They got to go back up, right? Yeah. So Warren Buffett says, you know, go against the herd. People are fleeing by, you know. So,
Cool.
Any other questions? So be disciplined, right? No shortcuts. It takes hard work. Dustin knows this. He's been grinding the last couple of years on his own. You got to be present. You got to be quick. You got to respond fast. You got to have answers. If you don't have answers, you can say, I'll get the answer for you and I'll call you back in an hour or however long it takes. You know, just be honest. Do everything you say you're going to do 100% of the time. Have a plan or plan to fail. Don't worry about the results. Worry about your process every day. You know, if you do the right things every day, then the results will come. If they're not coming and you lose a deal, you got to just say, why did I lose that deal? Like I lost a deal. I was on vacation, going on vacation, a quick story. Client of mine, great client of mine. His dad's been a great client of mine for years. The son is a good client also. I did a loan for him. He texted me right before I was going on vacation. I said, hey, I'm going to be out of town. Call my partner Jody if you need immediate help. She didn't hear from him, so I called him last week when I came back. Because I'm trying to buy this brand new house. They wouldn't take any contingent offer 2 weeks ago, so I'm just kind of figuring it out. And I'm meeting with a realtor today to maybe sell my house, and then this builder is building his houses. They have another one coming up, and I'm going to go see it tomorrow. And also, I already saw it. I think you saw it the day before, but they said they, may not take an offer, but I can tell they're getting a little more lenient. So my fault. I should have said, okay, hey, let's gather your stuff. You qualified. Let me get you the numbers so I can get you qualified. What are you looking for? I kind of said, hey, all right, let me know how your conversation goes with the agent. Who's good, you're going to be able to list your house and so on and so forth. So what happened is the agent came in at 4 o'clock. I called the next day, the next day, and in the afternoon, I followed with them. Said, oh yeah, my agent came in. He said I could, and we actually was on last Thursday afternoon and Friday. I didn't call him, and I let the weekend go by. I called him Monday. He said, so how'd it go? He said, oh, the agent came by. I'm listing my house today. I'm in escrow on the builder's house. And my agent came by and he says he had another guy to talk to. So I talked to this guy. He qualified me in about 5 minutes. And, he's giving me a rate of 5 3/8. I said, well, who is it? Oh, this guy, Rick Myers at Union Bank. So I said, okay, well, let me just check and see what that all looks like and so on and so forth. So because I wasn't aggressive and get all this stuff, I'm losing the deal at the end of the day. So don't let that happen to you. I should have been more aggressive. I should have been, hey, let's get your stuff in today. Let me qualify you. Let me give you the numbers so that we can make it all work. And, so we didn't have to do it twice, So anyways.
Scott, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for your time. It's an honor. Thank you. Appreciate it. But my question goes to the point you made earlier about blocking time. And how do you balance your health, your family, and the business? Can you just talk briefly about that?
Sure. So I mean, my kids are growing up now, so I don't have to balance that. But when I had younger kids, I would get my work done in the morning, and I would coach their soccer teams, in the afternoon. And I would I would be the coach of the rec team, so I would make the time as late as I could, 4 o'clock. This time of year obviously gets dark, right? So I either at 4 o'clock is kind of latest time. So I would just get all my stuff done and focus and make it happen. And then if people are calling and texting, I'll just respond to right. Hey, I can't talk now. I'll call you in an hour. I'm in a meeting, or, and if I was, coaching soccer at the time, you can't really respond to your text, so be it. I mean, you got to live your life. You're going to miss some things, it's not a perfect world at the end of the day. You have to feel good about what you're doing at the end of the day. So my balance is always like, I got to take care of my family first. Well, I got to take care of me first, because if I'm not happy, then no one's going to be happy. But that's not totally true, because it's a happy life if you have a happy wife. So you take care of your wife first, make sure that I'm showing up in a positive way, and then you take care of your family second. And part of that is taking care of your business first, because it all kind of goes intertwined together. So you got to figure out what your thresholds are for working. And, sometimes I'll work till 6:30. Sometimes I work till 7 o'clock. Sometimes, like yesterday, I went and met some guys who's a potential referral partner at 4 o'clock. Went and had a glass of wine with these guys. I was still working, and I got home at 6:30. But it was important to go connect with those guys. Two are clients. One is a client of mine, a good friend, and the other guy's a guy that I know. I just found out yesterday he bought he's a bankruptcy attorney. So I said, how's your business? He goes, we have the least amount of business in the history of the world in the bankruptcy attorney business, because during COVID, no one filed bankruptcy. Zero people. And you couldn't collect debt from anybody. You couldn't foreclose on anybody. You couldn't do anything. So he just bought into a CPA practice, which I'm going to call him and say, hey, tell me about your CPA practice you just bought into, on the side. So how do you balance it? Again, it's about time blocking and just being consistent. And if you're not done enough time, then you got to get up earlier and do your take care of yourself before anybody else wakes up. The most successful guys in the mortgage business, and probably in all businesses, those guys are getting probably a half a day's work done before most people even wake up. They're up at 5 a.m. and they're getting their mind right. They're doing their reading. They're creating content. They're figuring out marketing strategies. They're kind of putting their plan together so that when the rest of their team, they get to work and the rest of their team is with them, or they're running their company or whatever they're doing, they're already done through a couple hours worth of work and strategizing. So that's the way you create more time for yourself. Get up earlier, but you got to go to bed earlier too. No more Netflix.
Scott, I think we talked about this. Every week iPhone does an analysis on your screen time on your phone. What is yours on average?
6 hours, 6 to 7 hours.
Same.
Day. That's I think all the time on my phone, right?
Yeah. Screen.
I use my phone for all my calls also.
Yeah.
I don't use the landline. But yeah, it's between 6 and 7 hours a day. And then when I go on vacation, it's way less.
Right.
How's the Fluid app on your phone been, Scott? Since you work off your phone, you're on the go all the time. Has that been helpful for you?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, Fluid app's awesome. It's awesome. I go in there, look at it. I'll look at an appraisal quickly just to see and satisfy me of curiosity. Oh, did it come in? Is it good?
I love the notes. You can see the direct notes with the appraisal companies and back and forth from our team. It's cool.
Yeah.
The appraisal comes in on your phone app first before
or it gets anywhere else.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Scott, for sharing all of your wise tips with everybody and your stories. I think Stephanie chatted in that you should write a book because you have so much to share with everybody.
Yeah,
But I'll buy it and read
I have to
it.
organize my thoughts in a way that would be understandable and easy to follow. That's-
Definitely.
Yeah,
Well,
that would be the challenge for me.
perfect. Well, thanks everybody for joining. I know we went over time today, but it would definitely seem like it was worth it today. And like always, if you guys have any questions afterwards, feel free to email us, and you can email me, Carissa, or Scott, and we're happy to, hop on another call and share anything that we didn't discuss today. And then next Wednesday, we'll be doing another discussion group to just share our takeaways and anything else that you guys thought about after the fact. So thanks so much, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Thanks, Scott.
Hey, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye.